Hey everyone, you are tuned into It's Only Entertainment with your girl Shay Says, and today we have independent writer and producer Swift in the building talking all things Untangled. How are you, Swift?
I'm good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm great. Thanks for being here. Now, we have to talk Untangled because Untangled or entanglement is it really? I think the story is about a man who's experiencing a lot of tension within his immediate household, but also within his extramarital relationship. Can you give us a little synopsis of what's going on exactly?
Yeah, well, what's going on is Malik, which is the character who Jamal Willard plays.
Mhm.
He's going through he's experiencing a lot of things with his marriage. He's in a failed marriage. Him and his wife is going through some things, and he ends up getting involved with another young lady in the film who he actually has a relationship with. And she wants to confront the situation because he tries to break it off with her. So she
Mhm.
wants to kind of like tell his wife what's been going on. But, you know, his wife, she kind of knew about the girl already because as I said, their relationship was already on the rocks. But in addition to that, he has a strained relationship with his son because they had his son young and he works a lot. So his son feels as though his dad isn't really there for him and he doesn't really have a good relationship with him. So he is really acting out. He's kind of like being an a-hole. So it's called Untangled because Malik is dealing with all of these issues and he's trying to correct all of these things, from his excuse me, from his relationship with his son to the relationship with the wife and the relationship with the other woman that he has who reveals that she's pregnant.
I think, like you said, it's really great to see more so just a man trying to really make do of his wrongs, like correct his wrongs in a sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting because you created this film after like witnessing many relationships that was facing these same hurdles. Can you share one of the stories you witnessed that encouraged your writing process for this film?
Yes, well, particularly, when I guess it wouldn't be really be particular situations, but it's just, me looking at a pattern of, women who they're dealing with these guys and, these gentlemen, they're obviously in multiple relationships with multiple females. And one of the first things that you see is you see that the young ladies go after each other, right?
Right.
And if you pay attention, the viewers when they watch the film, they'll see that Diana, which was the wife,
Mhm.
she wouldn't allow Tasha to bring her to that level, right? But if you watch films, traditionally that portrays Black women, the first thing that they want to do is when the man is revealed, it's revealed that he's dealing with another woman. The first thing that they want to portray is both of the women go to acting crazy towards each other. They want to hurt each other. They want to get violent and things like that. And we see these scenarios play out in real life, right? So now, you have situations where all of these states are allowing, everybody to conceal carry and hold weapons and whatnot. And we're seeing, that if a lot of these women are going through things, they're carrying these guns and they're going after each other over these relationship problems because of, them being mad and just being, furious. And we all know that when you're dealing with emotions, people can act irrationally at times and do things that they regret. So to just get back on why, I did, what inspired me to do it. That's one of the reasons why, it was the kind of shed some light on these relationships and get people to see that, we don't have to keep portraying Black women being on TV, trying to kill each other, literally, going through all of this because of a choice that a man makes, right? we're dealing with a situation where a lot of these guys, they feel like, there's more women in the world than it is men.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at that situation and say there's more women in this world than it is men, there's more women, then you think about the black men that they have locked up. You think about the black men that they have in situations where they're dealing with drug addictions and whatnot, and you think about all of the situations that will cause society to write a man off, right?
Right.
So if we're dealing with a situation where there's more women than men, and then you add all those factors to the equation, what will you have? You have a more of a shortage of men. Okay, so if every woman is to have her own man, how is that possible?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at literal, this is just mathematics. These are simple mathematical numbers right here. So if we understand that, then we should understand that realistically, you're gonna have a lot of situations where there's gonna be women sharing the same man. And what a woman shouldn't do is never result to a situation where she's trying to endanger herself, someone else, or possibly putting herself in a situation where she can spend the rest of her life in prison over a relationship that she can clearly just walk away from.
Right. Right. And I in watching Diana's response within the film, I would like to ask you, seeing someone in person, if you knew like a person going through this in real life, how would you prefer a woman to act when presented with this situation? As you mentioned, like walking away from it, or trying to fight for the family, being that she had kids. How would you prefer that?
Well, my thing is, I've experienced some of these things personally myself,
Right.
with relationships and whatnot. And it's never easy when you deal with these type of things, because you do understand that relationships are very sensitive, especially when women are extremely territorial, right?
Mhm.
So when you say um how would I think I'm sorry, how do I think a woman, or how would I want a woman to respond to something like this? I would just want her to respond, number one, with a lot of just by being very rational about the situation, number one, right?
Mhm.
And also being, excuse me, looking at the situation through a lens, not just with her heart, but with her mind as well. So being calculated and understanding exactly what you're dealing with, right?
Right.
So, let's be honest, you're gonna have some men out here that's never gonna be with one woman. I don't care what the situation is. It's just not going to happen. I mean, if you really look at, the numbers on this, I forgot her name, but the one sister Shabazz, she talks about this all the time, and she made a great point. She said, you give a time in history and point in history when monogamy has worked 100% for most people. Most of the time when marriages and relationships end is because one of the persons are found to be unmonogamous, right? They're not, faithful in a sense, of these terms that we put on people. He cheated or she cheated. What's really cheating, right?
Yeah.
This is a person that's making a choice on, excuse me, making a conscious choice to choose to do whatever it is that they do, right? And and you have some relationships where these women, they be in relationship with men for decades. And this the same relationship, it happens, it goes on with him being with this woman, him being with that woman, her being with this man, or whatever the situation. My point is, you know, that regardless to what we might want things to be, we have to be able to look at reality.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, there's a lot more, I guess I don't know what they would call it, infidelity or whatever, in terms of men, than then on the other side of the fence. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I have no idea. Because we look at things the way that we do based on the society that we come from. This is the society that we live in. This society that we live in says that if a woman tries to mess with your man, you do this and you do that, you get violent. This is what they feed Black women. You know what I mean? But that's doing nothing but destroying them. You know what I mean? It's doing nothing but bringing them down. Instead of why wouldn't we teach them how to deal with these situations in a rational manner, not just with their hearts, but again with their minds also. And that's what I was trying to portray with the character of Diana. If you pay attention, she was very calculated. She was very she didn't really get emotional. In the film, even when she did get emotional, she didn't go over the top.
Right.
But like when we showed the movie in the theaters, you should have seen how many women was like, oh, hell no, there's no way that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen to me. I would have did this and I would have did that to her if she would have came to my door. But let's be honest, the reason why they think like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they think like that is because this is how they've been trained.
Right.
This society trains women to believe and think this way. That's why they feel as though it makes sense to talk about doing all of this harm to somebody because she's dealing with this guy that you're dealing with, when you're not looking at the reality of it to say that, guess what, if you do something to this woman, you could possibly end up in prison. If you got kids, they could possibly end up without a mother. I mean, make it make sense. To me, that makes no sense when you can go about it a rational way and say, okay, look, either, okay, if I'm going to be in this relationship, then I need to really reassess what we have. How am I going to be in this relationship? What type of relationship is this going to be? And once you make that assessment, you should then say, okay, is this something that I want to deal with? Do I still want to be with this man knowing that this is going on? And guess what? I'm speaking of the women, but this could be the same scenario for a man in that situation.
Right. Right.
I'm just speaking on a woman right now because that's what the film is about. So I mean it's now understand, Shay, I know that this is very controversial. This is a very controversial thing that I'm touching on, and some of these things that I'm saying, a lot of women, they're not ready to hear this, especially from a man, right?
Right.
Because they're not ready to hear because simply because this is not something that they're used to, you know.
That's so true.
So,
But I
but
think it's interesting. It's great when a film can bring up those kind of discussions. And you did mention that how Diana does have a different way of reacting in this situation. And one of the lines I wanted to bring up was her mentioning to her daughter, actually, and she said, "You must always keep up an appearance. That's how you get ahead, and that's how you stay ahead." I thought it was very interesting because I think in real life, what I commonly kind of hear is always like, faking it till you make it. So I wanted to know your thoughts on that line, and on this concept of faking it till you make it, that phrase that's commonly used, and does this line from the film happen to correlate with that concept?
Okay, well, I think I don't think that was our intentions. The writers of saying, that you always have to stay looking your best. I just think that, I don't think it was fake it till you make it. I think that was just her telling her daughter that no matter what you're going through, you have to always be at your best. You have to always do it with grace. You can never let life get you down to the point to where you stop taking care of yourself. And you got to always keep yourself looking up to par. I mean, is and that right there is something that is a lot of people I think can relate to that coming up in poverty.
Yeah.
just because you're coming up in poverty, not that they was coming up in poverty, but I'm just, kind of referencing this situation. But I think that coming up in poverty is one of those things where you're constantly battling with living without, or excuse me, living with less, but you still want to make your environment be the best that it can possibly be. Okay,
Right.
so just because you're growing up below the poverty line, that doesn't mean that you don't supposed to get up and clean your house every day. That
Right.
doesn't mean that you don't supposed to get up and bathe yourself and take care of yourself and groom yourself, iron your clothes. It don't mean that you can't carry yourself with pride and some dignity. And I think that Diana was telling her daughter that, regardless to what the daughter was saying, we in the house right now. Where are we going? Why are you doing my hair every day? Because she like, what, regardless to what, whether we in this house or not, you need to be at your best.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love that message, and I'm happy you were able to like clarify that as well for a lot of the audience viewers. So I want to actually talk about as well Kaylee Crossfire, who's also casted in the film,
Yeah.
and she plays Tasha. So
Yeah.
I know that she's also a Milwaukee native like
Yeah.
yourself. How like did you know her before this experience? How were you guys able to work on this project together, and what made you come to the decision to that she was the right fit to play Tasha?
Oh, well, Kaylee, I met her through some mutual friends. I think her studio engineers and I believe, I'm not sure if he was our ex-manager or something like that.
Mhm.
But I think we met one or two times prior to us casting her for this role. And
Oh,
she did a voiceover for us in Circumstances too, my last film before
mhm.
this. And how we ended up casting her was because I wanted to give somebody from Milwaukee a chance to shine on film. And we went through casting and everything, and it's when you casting, you always narrowing down situations, trying to figure out the best person. And
Yeah.
I mean, just to be honest with you, she did the best out of everybody that that submitted the reel. And then we gave a bunch of people some lines from the film to read, and she did a really good job, and we just thought she was a good fit for it. And I'm glad we went with her, because I think she did a phenomenal job.
Yes, yes, she definitely did. And I mean, she's also known as well for her appearance on the Netflix series Rhythm and Flow. So I think that she's had a great portfolio thus far, and she did a great job playing Tasha. I can definitely agree with that. And honestly, I want to ask you in terms of your upcoming films to come, because Untangled's already out, but
Mhm.
Valentine's Day's coming up. Are we going to see a lot more tangled love stories from Swift Motion Pictures?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. We probably won't have none of that soon, Valentine's Day, but but we got a bunch of projects that we working on right now. Our next project that we'll be releasing is gonna be Circumstances 3. And that's going to be the end of the trilogy for that film series. But I got some nice scripts, that we've put together. And we'll definitely be doing another one, because we wanted to do a movie for the women, and to kind of appeal to that audience. And I think we did that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Swift. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me, Shay.
Of course. And thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out Untangled on Amazon Prime and Tubi as well.